Hello everyone and welcome to this podcast, Life, Leadership and Lemons, a conversation with Jamie Corcoran about making the most of what you have and learning to laugh along the way.
So Andrew, welcome to our podcast today. Good to see you, brother.
Good to see you, Jamie. It's a shame about that team behind you, but everything else is good.
Oh, well, you know us here in Ireland, we're loyal to the end, even at default.
A lot of people in Bayside like them, but not everybody.
How are things in sunny California?
Well, the reality is it's sunny this morning, but we've had days of rain, which is mixed blessing. Of course, in this climate, you're wanting sunshine and things to brighten up. On the other hand, you don't want a dry summer and be in drought in that way. So it fills the reservoir, and everything, thank God. So tons of rain, but it's been good for us.
I can't say we have the same problems here.
I know. People don't need to start praying for me. It's not that bad. The sun will come. It'll be okay.
Great. Well, look, I mean, obviously most people who are tuning in today will know who you are. Some won't. So why don't you kick us off by telling us a little bit about your story, how you came to Christ, where you're from, and how you and your amazing wife, Isabel, ended up in California.
Well, real simple. Obviously, I'm up from the north and was born in Belfast, but then was, long story, dotted around a couple of times and then headed off to the Assemblies of God Bible College, Battersea. Met Isabel there, Scotland for 2 years, and then planted a church in Derry, Cornerstone, fabulous church, wonderful people up there, great things happening in the city. Always has that special place in our heart. Actually did a little brief Devo thought for Roma Downey's sort of charitable foundation the other day, and that was just like a nice little link, what the finest daughter of Derry. And so we were there 13 years, had all our children there. We always say that all our children were born in the USA, upstairs on the Gelvin. That's the hospital up there. So, and then we went to CFC Belfast, which was an incredible journey, wonderful ride. Thought we'd be there for the rest of our lives. Just super congregation, wonderful privilege, but God had other plans. And it's almost 5 years, Jamie. Be 5 years in July that we moved to America. Never wanted to do this, wasn't on the plans, but it was with God. And it has been our journey, and to say the least. And but the kids are doing well. Actually got one boy married off. He was due, Ben, our oldest boy, he was due to have his big day in about 2 weeks' time. But with this craziness, they just said, we're going to bring it forward, and then we'll still have our big celebration afterwards. So there's a snapshot.
And so, an Irish man on the west coast of the US, the far side of America, as we say, how are you finding living over there, being separated from family, especially this whole COVID-19 thing? How's that been affecting you? How are you managing that?
Yeah, well, so, and thank God, because of Aer Lingus, straight flights out of San Francisco right into Dublin. I can be home in 9 hours sometimes. Some people, just to drive to San Francisco can take that some days. So that's a great thing. But obviously in this time, that's just like the thought that I can't get home. And my mom hasn't been well. She's just post-surgery. She had surgery about a month ago, 77. So it puts her right in that range of obviously high risk. So you just try not to think about it too much. But you do feel the miles at a moment like this. But I still wake up every morning and I look at European news, check out BBC, RTE, what's happening. Always have a wee look at Northern Ireland, the whole nation, right across Ireland, what is going on. So I probably know home politics and events every bit as much as what's going on here. Of course, with Isabel being French, we're keeping in touch with the French-speaking world, and they've had a terrible time. So one of my really good friends there, Sam Peter Schmidt, who runs the largest church in France, he went down with Corona. And I'm telling Jamie, he was wiped out. And we were always taking this serious, but when I saw him do a video 3 weeks after having Corona, he was half the man he used to be. I mean, he was a shell of the man. He was broken. He's a fit guy. 52, 53, in good health, but it took him down. So that was another thing, just to go, hey, behave. So we're just keeping in touch with our parents. I call them every day, FaceTime them. Sometimes during the week, Isabel's doing that with her parents too. They're in their 70s, and we're just trying to keep in touch.
So obviously you're tracking the news, and you saw our very own ambassador to the Globe, Conor McGregor, has been making some serious political moves. What are your thoughts on that?
Conor for president for the T-shirt.
Conor president. Everyone. Come on.
Oh my! He could be the whole defense force himself. That's all he would need. Threaten nations and all. No, that's been hilarious. Get the man back in the ring. Take a microphone off him. You
obviously grew up watching Bruce Lee and Walker, Texas Ranger, and so our generation has all the Chuck Norris jokes. I wonder if in the generation to come they'll become Conor McGregor jokes.
I'm sure it will. Yeah, I know. Frightening, isn't it?
So before we jump into the call, you were just telling me about the weekend. You were speaking, phenomenal weekend at Bayside. You were telling me some numbers of people who are engaging online, which is just breathtaking. Bayside is a multi-site church, multiple thousands of people on a weekend, hundreds of staff. How has this whole COVID-19 thing affected the church? What are some of the challenges you guys are facing right now?
Well, Winston Churchill said this: never waste a crisis. Never waste a crisis. And I think something wasn't just happening in the church. Something had happened in society where everybody was online. And this little device here, this has been the game changer, the absolute game changer. And I'm seeing, even before COVID, my screen time just going up and up. Not because I'm just sitting on Instagram, I'm sending texts, I'm having more meetings even on my phone with online platforms. So this whole COVID-19 thing has just been an accelerator for what's already happened in society. So my brother, he works for Microsoft. He's a partner with them. He's been with them for over 20 years. And so before COVID, they were adding 20 million people a month to Microsoft Teams. 3 weeks ago, today, on a Monday, they added 40 million in a single day.
That's incredible, isn't it?
From 20 million a month to 40 million in a day. So this has been an accelerator, and it's something not just for churches like Bayside. And I really want to speak here to the Irish church, to the European church. So I might have a American pastor's hat on, but I got an Irish heart, and I want to think, how does this work across in Europe? So this isn't something just for a big church in America. This is for all of us and how we do life as a family, how we do community generally. My son's whole football, I'm going to call it football, not soccer. His whole football is all organized on an app. They have a little team app, all the schedules sent out through that. So what we have found is that we already were having to look more at digital as a church, but this has accelerated it. And some people, and this is the language we've been using, some people were saying, oh, COVID-19 is going to shut the church down. When in actual fact, it's opened the church up. And we had to make a very, very quick decision that we were going to go from on-site to online. As we all know, we were shut down very quickly. San Francisco was way ahead of it, and all the counties around started shutting down. And we just thought, just to be wise and to be safe, and optics are very important, and also for the protection of our staff, we need to get online. And we got an awful lot of our resources and our people getting online. So an absolute game changer. But again, just to turn around, some people say, I don't have the digital platforms, I'm not quite sure, I don't have a big staff. This is the language being used too, is high tech and high touch. High tech, high touch. And the high touch obviously cannot be physical. But with the numbers that we have involved here, across 10 days, we got our staff to call on the phone 30,000 people in 10 days.
Wow.
So it's one thing saying, oh, follow us on Instagram, but a lot of our people aren't even getting that message because they're not on it. So you can do, and we'll talk about that later if you want, Instagram, Facebook, digital, social media platforms, all of that. But there's nothing like just picking up the phone. So I was just talking to Isabel a few minutes ago. She's got a list of 200 names that have just come to her. So she's going to call like 10 of her best friends, split those 200 names up. We're making what we call the small group leaders of our church, we call them hosts. The hosts are the heroes because they're already connected with everybody else. And sometimes when you call people and they see like a scam number, they're not going to even answer, but they know their small group leader, they're going to answer them. So we're just trying to do high tech. What do we need to do to pivot towards digital? But also, how do we do high touch? Texting people that we know, calling people that we don't know. And I got to say this, our church has been blown away and has never felt more united when physically they can't come together.
Wow, that's amazing. And I suppose, like you alluded to a moment ago, this COVID-19 thing, it isn't an American thing, it isn't an Irish thing, it's a global thing. Yeah. It's truly unprecedented. And all of us are wrestling with it. And there's this thing here, unfortunately, is perspective sometimes. That's misinformed that, these churches in America, churches like Bayside, they have all these staff, all these resources. Like, surely it's so much easier for them over there. But in actual fact, from talking to yourself and others in a position like you, I mean, it's the same problems. It's just a lot more complex because of the scale of it all. I mean, 30,000 people is about the size of an average European town.
Yeah, correct.
It's huge. What would you say you guys are doing differently now? So obviously you've taken church online. You see it as an opportunity. It's on a step back, a step forward. What are some practical things that you guys are doing? Outside the phone calling is one example, but what else are you doing?
Well, you got to look at how we're going to keep connected to our people. And that really is that we are still shepherds, but we can't turn up and have a cup of tea or coffee with someone. We can't meet with them in a restaurant. But we are shepherds, and we want to, at this moment in time, be as practical as possible. So the big thing is still the weekends. We want to keep people in a rhythm of meeting. So we put our services out at the regular time, although after that, they can't access them. So programming has completely changed. Every church may not have a programming director, but we all kind of know our program. We worship at the beginning, someone does announcements. But we've never thought about online programming. And this will maybe encourage some European leaders that we were not ready for this because we're not like a life church or anything like that. We're not, a big digital church in that way. We have live preaching at all of our campuses. We use social networking, but our digital core was not strong. So what we had to do was quickly pivot and start thinking about digital programming. And that has changed from week to week. And we thought shorter will be better. And then we heard elevation service last weekend was 2 hours and 14 minutes.
Man, Stephen Furtick, come on.
Yeah, exactly. And actually,
if we had a haircut like his, that's the key. Come on.
Who's cutting his hair at the moment? That's what I want to know. But he didn't actually come on, I think, to one of those services until after an hour and 10 minutes. Everything is building up and building up and building up, and it's drawing people in. And even just the thought process is involved in that. The intentionality of it, I think, is fantastic. Again, I would encourage everybody, this is not even about, I got to have the best gear. I need a studio. Look what we're doing right now. People aren't going, well, because he's got a Raiders flag, I'm going to turn off. Well, some people might. That's not what it's about. This is really important. Content is king.
Absolutely.
It's not platform. If you've got the right content, I watched TD Jakes preach to an empty auditorium, and he wasn't getting all the shouting and the feet. He was still riveting. And can I just say it? You can be boring in front of 1,000 people and boring in front of an empty room, or the other way around. It's about content. It's about captivating your audience. And it is also about, a couple of simple things. We're going to turn more lights on in the room. We're going to think about distance between me and my computer. And you know what? Get on YouTube, just type it in, how to set up a home studio with limited resources and an iPhone 11. And I know it's a little bit expensive, but if everyone in the church chips in and gets the pastor one, It is amazing the technology that these things have, that your kids understand, and how we can leverage. So that was something really important that we needed to do right at the beginning. And then also, as we said, was empower our groups, really empower our groups. So Kurt and I, just at Granite Bay, are the original and largest campus. We've been doing weekly webinars with all of our hosts, keeping in touch with them, helping our hosts get their groups converted to becoming digital groups, creating the right platforms for them, making videos. We don't do it personally because we're not that smart, but getting some of our people to just make a video. This is how you create the platform. And we're getting more people now in groups. Because of this, people can't go out, they can meet more consistently. And so group numbers and participation are actually going up because of this season. So again, the massive stuff of the weekends and then groups. And this is where the weekends and the groups are coming together. Jamie, we've been amazed at how many people are coming to Christ at this time.
Wow.
So we're setting up new online e-groups for brand new Christians.
Incredible.
Our Midtown campus just did what we call an intro to Bayside for all the brand new people that have come online. They've never physically been to our campuses, but they've met Christ online. We're encouraging all of our people, share the services on Facebook, share the services through the app, forward the link, do all of that, invite people to church, create these watch parties. And we still have a little, we have this interactive chat thing that you can have at the side. You can do that with Facebook Live as well.
Yeah.
And we have this little button, and we call it at Bayside, I raise my hand. We lead people in a prayer, and we say, if you prayed that prayer, raise your hand. And we have a little emoji at the side where we can where people can click it. And it's amazing when you're watching the service and some pop, 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 people start clicking this. And then during the week, then we start following them up. And that isn't even just a staff thing. We call them super hosts. So these are our people just from the church that are given a list of names. Would you follow up with these people and invite them to an online group?
Wow. And what's so fantastic about that is that it's all scalable. I mean, you're talking about an iPhone 11. I mean, we're one of few churches in this context that would have, pretty decent camera equipment. But actually, most of our stuff, even before COVID-19, for like church news and different things, we recorded an iPhone 11 because the quality is just, it's unbeatable, actually, in so many regards. And just the scalability of, you may not be able to develop a digital platform to run your service, but you can use Facebook Live, you can create a watch party. I mean, all these things are instantly transferable to this part of the world. And it's so encouraging to hear the e-groups. In fact, we're doing the same thing. We're launching e-alpha, believe it or not.
Wow.
So we're going to just a whole bunch of them throughout the week and try as many people, because we have many thousands who would never physically come to our building that are watching, and we're going, how do we engage these people? So I suppose it's encouraging for us over here to think, man, with limited resources, with limited manpower, wrestling with the same issues, but all the things that you are doing, we can do too in a scalable way. Technology, in a way, I suppose, levels the playing field, doesn't it?
Yeah. I've always had a mentality, and when we planted the church in Derry, we never had the money. We didn't have the resources. You just find a way to win. Find a way to win. And we were saying this long before COVID came, but in the last year, we were always saying, what would a brand new church do? What would a brand new church do? And this is it. When you have that pioneer spirit, and this is a pioneering season for the church. Yeah. This is brand new territory. We have never been here before in our lives. And you just got to find a way to win. And you know what? Be honest. Hey, we're just trying this platform, and it might not be the same next week, because if you really like it, let us know. What can we improve? Let us know. Make it interactive. What it is as well, we're finding is, even with our Zoom calls, Zoom is a free thing. I think you get free for 45 minutes, and that's probably an appropriate time to talk to. But we have here, and it's just an example, we have over 300 to 400 staff, okay? So it's a big staff. Still, once a week, we invite all the staff to come on to Zoom, and it's 12 pages of screens that we got to go through. But how do we make it fun? It's not just a staff meeting. Please don't kill people with information. Just text them information, email them information. People want inspiration and they want fun. That's what they want. That's really. So last week, what did we do? We did a fancy dress competition. So it's either wear your favorite sports top or wear. Do you know what? It was hilarious. People were scrolling through and doing.
What did you dress up as?
Oh, I went full the St. Patrick's stuff because we never had our St. Patrick's Day here. So I had the Irish shirt on, the hat, and all of that. So yeah, we did it. We had so much fun.
Taking it from the church.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, take it from the church level and like bring it down to yourself. One of the things I admire about you is you're not only a great communicator and leader and husband and father, but you the whole area of self-care and the understanding that, to be in the long run, you got to take care of yourself. Speaking like on a personal level, what are you doing to take care of yourself right now? I mean, you're a person, I've been over with you. You like to run. I saw on Instagram the other day, you were attempting to read James Joyce's Ulysses, which is, that's an amazing feat. We'll come to that in a second. But what are you doing, first of all, physically, emotionally, and then we'll come to the literary side in a second.
And maybe we can add it to this afterwards, but I watched a great article. It's a 5-minute thing on a commander of a submarine who at one time, he was 286 days without daylight. He was under the ocean for 286 days. And he was just like giving some illustrations about how to keep to a routine, how you should keep clean, keep communication high. It was like really interesting stuff that he was talking about. Personally, I'm just trying to keep fit. Now, I'm not talking about like mad stuff preparing for marathons. I'm just talking about being wise at this time in terms of my health. So that starts with getting enough sleep. Because the temptation is in a season like this is to get completely out of rhythm, stay up later at night. It's learning to shut the laptop and get sleep. And then I try to do a run every single day. And that's only like between 3 to 4 miles. I'm not pushing it past that. I got a dodgy left knee, so I got to take care of it. And I don't want to run too far, not be able to run at all. So I'm just doing 3 to 4 miles a day. I have started going to the gym in the last year, not like for big weights, just resistance stuff. And I'm just doing that in my own room. I've been like doing just some core things, sitting on the ground, doing some core stuff. I got this like lightweight dumbbells. I mean, Conor McGregor's not going to be asking for my fitness video. Nothing like, it's just all resistance stuff. And I find as well that as I look after the body, and the other really important thing is you could just sit around and eat all the time. I'm in the house, the fridge is there. Also, Isabel's a great cook. Lunchtime, dinner.
I can vouch for that.
Yeah, you can't do that. You just got to be wise in how much you eat during the day. Look after all of that. And I have a habit, and I do it every day of my life. I step on the scales once a day, and that tells me how much I can eat that day. And so I just do it as a healthy little thing. I just step on the scales and know what to do, and it's very important at this season. So that's what I do. It's First Thessalonians 5:23, spirit, mind, and body. And I always believe that if I look after my spirit, so earlier this morning, sat in that chair over there, Bible in 1 year, Nicky Gumbel, just going through those 4 to 5 chapters, listening to his notes, which were fabulous today.
Which, by the way, I started his plan in January too, so I'm doing it also. It's phenomenal. Phenomenal. Thank God for Nicky Gumbel.
Yeah, it was. And I actually heard Pippa one time, that's his wife, she just said that for him to get those notes, every day he got up and started writing those notes. And even when they were traveling, if their flight was at 6 a.m, he got up at 3, disciplined. And before he would leave the house, he would always get another day done. And so I try to look after my own spirit, and just prayer this morning, worship in God's word. Try and listen to someone else's sermon, not just to get a sermon, but to actually get something for me. And then I'm trying to do something for the mind. Trying to do something for the mind, which is just, and this is why I started reading Ulysses. So my second.
So for our audience. Okay, some people watching who are in European context, other nations. Yeah. what is Ulysses? Obviously, James Joyce wrote it. What is it about? It's a book, but give people some context.
It's based on like Homer's Odyssey, but it's not really. But it is. There's a parallelism there. But basically, it's 18 chapters of the life of one man in Dublin over one day, and each chapter represents 1 hour of the day. That's it. But each chapter is written in a different style. And it's it's a stream of consciousness. So it's so random. So as he writes, he's just thinking, it's like squirrel, squirrel, squirrel. So stream of consciousness. And it was a breakthrough in literature. And it's considered to be by some the greatest novel ever written. They just say it just was groundbreaking. But it's all if you can get past chapter 3. Chapter 3 it's just mind-blowing. So my second boy is studying this right now as part of his degree in UC Davis. So he's firing me the notes, but even the lecturer said no one can make sense of chapter 3. But I'm about 120, 130 pages into it. There's like 780 or something. So it's slow going. That helps me get to sleep at night. It's slow going, but very enjoyable.
Well, when I saw your post, I chuckled because I must have drank the same broth you drank, because I'm actually reading a book at the moment by Alexander Solzhenitsyn called the Gulag Archipelago, which many would say it won the Nobel Prize for Literature. Many would say it was the most important book in the 20th century and how it contributed to the fall of the Berlin Wall and Soviet Union. But it is one of those books that it is like you're banging your head off the wall reading. You got to really want to read this book. But like I said, the reason for it is not because I have an amazing love or affinity to Russian history, but like the point you're making is just to keep the mind firing, learning, growing. How important is that to you?
Oh, it's absolutely essential. Absolutely essential. I heard one person say, if thinking were easy, everybody would be doing it. Thinking is a challenge, and to think.
Yeah, it was Einstein. Was it Einstein that said that?
I don't know who it was. Someone smarter than me. And just to keep the grey matter going, because what can happen is that we just revert to PlayStation, Netflix, Prime, Amazon Prime Video, all of those things. I was watching Carl Lentz yesterday, and he actually had COVID-19. He tested positive, had to be quarantined, all of that. He said he's going to come out of this speaking a different language. I mean, it's not a new gift of tongues. It is Spanish. He's going to learn Spanish through this. He wants to learn Spanish and come out with a new language. So you don't have to read Ulysses or learn Spanish, but it's just for, everyone listening right now, just do something that challenges, learn Irish history in a better way, or your European history, whatever it is, do something that is a novel, get some leadership books as well. What have you always wanted to read? Get that stuff, or the podcast that you should listen to. And it's just every single day doing something that keeps the grey matter moving. And it's bottom line is you're going to come out of this with great treasure. That's what's going to happen.
Unscripted move here. What would you recommend? Give me 3 titles of books, 3 podcasts you'd say to people listening and watching right now. You need to get your hands on these things.
Well, again, the Ulysses at the moment. Let me just have a look here, because I got my Kindle. I'm trying to think of the stuff that really is that we've been doing. The book I've got upstairs, I can't remember the name of it again. It is I wish I had it right beside me now. It's about basically like write like Lincoln and speak like Churchill, and it's all about becoming a far better communicator. That's been one recently that I think has been an outstanding.
After the call, I can post this post title for all of our audience.
Yeah. I'm going to send you a couple, because I want to be really practical.
Cool.
Where I went through an awful lot of apologetics reading recently. I did a lot of that, and I'm trying to get you one here. Let me get my Kindle working here. Confronting Christianity. Really good book. Confronting Christianity, and the author's name again. How can't I see the front cover? cover. Yeah, here, her name is Rebecca McLaughlin. Absolutely fantastic book. The other one that I enjoyed recently, and you did a series on it, The Problem of God with Mark Clark.
Oh yeah, Mark Clark. Shout out to Mark.
That
Brilliant
is
book, huh?
anything that Mark does, you should read. And also his podcast, just follow him on Twitter. Mark has so much going for him. Here, I could give you so much, but I'll try and fire off at the end and add some of the books that
we'll create a list.
And those TED Talks, that was another one on actually how to give a TED Talk and the official TED guide to public speaking.
Wow.
That is a super one. I haven't read this one. This is one I'm going to go to as well, is Leadership and Self-Deception. I've heard so much about that. Leadership and Self-Deception, that's one that I'm going to move on to. So there you go.
Awesome. Okay, shifting gears a little bit, let's talk about some leadership things. We mentioned kind of digital engagement, mentioned small groups. I think a big thing that all churches are facing is the financial challenge. And like I said earlier on, bigger the church, bigger the challenge. Let's talk about Bayside. How are you guys doing? How are you guys maintaining, managing? What have you done? How badly affected have you been? What's your strategy? Give us some thoughts on the whole financial side of things.
Well, first of all, and this is not to over spiritualize anything, we actually had right before shutdown came, we had 2 weeks on giving, preaching about giving, not knowing that this was coming, not at all. And so
someone's hearing from God.
Well, I mean, it's been a God moment. And we did a series, The Blessed Life, 4 years ago. And we don't preach on money a lot. We do second offerings for compassion causes that we give away. So we would talk about money in those contexts. But for a long time, we've been trying to get people onto digital giving. That's really, really important for us. So we're at about 70% digital giving. 30% then comes through the bucket.
Do you use PayPal, or I mean, I know there's some mobile platforms that only work in the US, but what will be some global ones you use?
We use PayPal. We use Apple Pay as well.
Apple Pay.
And Apple Pay is so easy for setting up what's called over here recurring giving. So I'm going to give this amount every week or give it every single month.
Wow.
So that was some stuff that we already had in plan. And then just amazingly, by the grace of God, we were able to preach on this for a couple of weeks and actually put out a tithe challenge to people and say to them, hey, why don't you step up? Maybe you've never been tithing. Well, you know what to say, but people stepped up to that. For us, this is not a moment to do a finance series. So I would say to all leaders out there, resist the thing to go, hey, we're going to preach on tithing next week. That is one way to kill your online, service. Don't be doing that. What have we done? We've kept high tech, high touch. So we've called all of our people individually, not asking them for money, asking them what we can do for them. That's been the most important thing. People have been blown away by that.
So good.
Take the time. Kurt and I have made so many phone calls. Our pastors have made so many phone calls. So not just something that happens with staff. We have called people. Also, we've strategically called what we would call some of our most generous donors. Okay, and they want to know what they can do at this time. Some people have turned around. We've had, again, it's not the whole congregation. Some people are in a financial situation where they've been able to give 12 weeks of their future tithe up ahead. They made the choice themselves. We didn't call them for that. Then we have done invitation to about 600 people in the church to come on for a webinar and find out what is going on at Bayside. So it's been trying to give them the information about what we're doing wisely as a staff. So let's talk about that in a moment. So obviously with not having weekend services, we have shut everything down. We're not physically at any of our campuses. So all of that saves money and ultimately is saving jobs, the jobs of our staff. And then the second thing is that we just ask for people to look, are there any other cost-cutting measures that you can think of? We don't need to live with that. Now, what we've had to do,
this is something I wanted to actually drill down into is what we'll call a spending strategy. Obviously, most of us started off the year with a budget.
Yeah.
That's kind of out the window a little bit. What is your spending strategy? Just drilling down to that thought right now. What has changed in terms of how you're thinking about spending, or has it changed?
Again, we put a total embargo on spending. I mean, across the board. The only area, the only thing that we've had to do is in our production and tech and comms. So anything that can help us move from on-site to online, that's where we've made the investment. So it would be silly to go, we're not spending anything. Well, we've got to keep communicating to our people. We've got to keep cell phones. We've got to call them, and also we've got to spend more on Facebook. We've got to spend more on Zoom. We've got to have better Zoom accounts, and we've got to have stable platforms so that we can actually go online at the weekend. Because we were hit by that. So it's basically production, tech, and comms are the only other things. Now, construction is still allowed here. So we had some reserved money that was ring fenced for that. So we've been able to do a couple of projects since the campus has been cleared, but that was restricted funds for that project.
Yeah.
And we've been
designated funds, basically.
Yeah, designated funds. So we've been able to just dive in and go, cut, don't spend, but actually spend a little bit more there, because what we're seeing at the weekends, our influence online is quadrupling compared to what we had at a weekend.
Wow, incredible. Obviously we're in a health crisis right now.
Yeah.
And most leaders, whether they're business leaders, church leaders, are looking ahead, and they're seeing what's becoming clear by the day, that once we get to the back end of this health crisis, we're going to hit the front end of a financial crisis. Many predicting a recession. I think here in Ireland, they're expecting somewhere between 20 and 25% unemployment, which would be devastating.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts around that from a church? What would you say to leaders? What are you doing at Bayside in terms of preparing or planning as best possible for that?
Well, first of all, it's a pastoral thing, and that is tons of empathy with people. They're just... So we got to be full of faith. I was on a call with Kerry Newhoff last week, and a few pastors from America. And he said one of the biggest challenges at the moment in America is the sort of the cognitive dissonance between a leader's optimism and current realities. You got to manage that. So when we go online, we want to be, God is good, and on the other hand, this really sucks, and you just lost your job, and your whole retirement funds have just depreciated, and life is terrible. And yet it can't all be gloom and doom. So we got to speak faith and hope, but we got to speak reality into people's lives. But everyone's going, what will normal be? What will, when this is over, I would say, let's stick with what's happening. The first thing is, I know we'll get to your question. So what they're saying is that this could be our 9/11, generation's 9/11 this week in America. So we're even thinking about, as we shoot services, do we shoot them in a studio with social distancing, respecting everything that's been set up, or do we just shoot them like where you are right now, where I am, from a house, and just try and patch them all together electronically? But for us to prepare for the future, what we're trying to do is look at what are the government offering churches at this moment in time. Okay. And of course, it's different for different nations, for the UK, for the US, for Ireland, what different government. So I would say to every pastor that they have to put on a CFO head. You need to get your financial head on. And if that is not your thing, don't tap out and go, I'm not great with money. You've got someone in your church that is. They understand this stuff. Find out what your government is offering and how you can.
Or if they don't have a volunteer, everyone can fork out a few quid to pay a financial advisor to find out what packages are available to them in their region.
Yeah, it'll cost you something in the short term, but it'll cost you a lot more in the long term if you don't do it.
For sure.
And we've got people that are on this because the US government has said, here's X trillion dollars. But when you put that across a nation of 320 million or whatever it is at the moment, and so many small businesses, and we're a non-profit, if you're at the back of the line, there's a strong chance you won't get anything. So you got to get your best people running ahead of this. And this is not just for survival. This is actually a pastoral thing. This is about for the health of the church, and also for trying to ensure the jobs of the people that we have. And I know that not every European church is a multi-staff thing, but I think it's just do your best with what you have and be able to borrow wisely at this time. And it's those sorts of trade-offs. People say, well, we don't want to get into a pile of debt. On the other hand, you don't want to close your doors. So you just got to think strategically. But I would say you have got to keep in contact with your key donors within the church. Now, everybody, of course, is a key donor, but there's some people will have the funds to help you get through this period. And they want to know that you've got a plan, that you're thinking of this. And of course, that doesn't take away prayer, the possibility of a miracle. But on the other hand, people that are good with money, that have saved, that have prepared for a day like this, they're also generous, but they don't want to just give into a vacuum. They want to give into a vision for this moment. So I would be in contact with them and think about how do you pastor them and with them at this moment in time in the life of the church.
That's a great angle.
Yeah.
Pastor the people through it. I love it.
Yeah.
Kind of open-ended leadership question. Two more questions because I want to respect your time. But in terms of thinking leadership generally, what part of leadership, guys like Hybels and Maxwell and Warren over the years talked about these different components of leaderships, different, parts of the edge of leadership. What part of leadership as a gift, as a thing, do you think leaders should be leaning into right now that this COVID-19 is kind of calling to the fore? You mentioned pastoring, you mentioned, the financial CFO hat. From your perspective, what part of leadership or what parts of leadership do you think are key right now?
We talk around here, there's moments where you need to be a general and there's moments where you need to be the town mayor. And it's different. Sometimes you wear the different hat in a different day. So with the staff, I'm one thing. With the staff, I'm rallying them, I'm focusing them, and I'm really being more of a general at that moment in time and saying, you got to keep focused, we got to keep going, do not give up at this time. With the people, we're trying to be more like a mayor. We're trying to be very pastoral at this time, extremely caring, and strategically feeding them stories of hope. Again, not dismissing or ignoring what's going on. So our compassion thing has been so good. People are going, what are we doing as a church? How can we help as a church? Well, people over 60 should not be leaving the house here, but they still need groceries. A lot of the stores have shut down their delivery services. We are providing a delivery service, picking up in the store with masks on the face, going to people's doors, leaving it on their doorsteps. We have a special vehicle that has 3 showers on it. So right downtown in Sacramento, it's opened every day. We partner with another church on their premises. And these 3 showers, hot showers for the homeless every single day, just run all day long. We feed 400 people every day, every single day.
Amazing.
And then so those are the stories that the church want to hear. The kingdom of God has not shut down. And also blood banks. The local community are calling to us, what do we need? They need face masks. We have these, thank God in the positive sense, Christian sweatshops that have been set up where people have got out their old sewing machines and they're just constantly making face masks. So we're getting images of that. People, we can't send camera crews in, but they're taking it with their iPhone, sending it to us. We put these all together. We send them out to the church, let them know. So there's that aspect of where I would go. There's moments where you're a general, where you're a mayor, and you got to be stately. You got to create a sense of safety. We're taking this seriously. You got to also do that pastoral thing. You got to be You know what? Even an evangelist at this time, you got to believe that people are out there and they're looking to God, because every single thing has let them down. That everything they trusted in has let them down. And so they're looking to Jesus, be an evangelist as well.
That's amazing. Yeah, I think there's a verse, I think it's Psalm 72:78. It talks about David and that kind of dichotomy of he led the people of Israel with a warrior's hands but a shepherd's heart.
Yeah.
There's a sense in where we got to have that duality of be able to seize the opportunity and take on the responsibility that comes with it of finance and digital thing and so on. But at the same time, you're right, it's all about people, loving the people, passionate people, helping them get through it. Well, final question, because time is almost up, and kind of like an opportunity for you to speak to leaders now here in Ireland and here in Europe who are watching. As we close, let me ask you this. Where do you think this thing is going? As you look into the future, as you look into the calendar for the rest of the year, like most of us are wondering what events will happen, won't happen, and into next year, are you feeling optimistic, pessimistic from your point of view? What are the best case scenarios, worst case scenarios? How are you feeling about where this thing is going?
Well, obviously, one day it will finish. You know, we got to believe that we will get past this. And I think for leaders now, they've got to be like right in the middle of it. I mean, you got to be in the thick of it. You got to manage. And we know this. It's not like week by week. With us, it's day by day and it's hour by hour. I'm getting emergency calls all the time. Not that we're running around fractious, but this has just been announced, or the governor has been on, the president has been on. This has happened with the banks. What are we going to do? There's so you got to do that, be right in the moment. But the great leader is thinking ahead. And I would challenge every leader, and this is not just a big church thing, this is a life thing, is that we've got to be ready for a digital future. It's happening right now. It's like a tsunami has come in of digital high tech. And we just got to think that suddenly everything will just snap back. Everything will just snap back. I mean, we were talking about the other, someone put it in one of our threads. This is maybe even a moment for us to go, our service times, do they actually work? What are people coming back to? What they thought, or is this a moment to change it? Again, in that conversation with Kerry Newhoff last week, one of the things he says that he can see that the great churches that are going to grow, that within the next year, they're probably going to be spending, listen to this, 20 to 50% of their income on digital platforms.
Wow.
And that is mind-blowing. That is mind-blowing. And some people go, oh, we're going to become a virtual church. I actually saw a pastor the other day. Listen to this, Jamie. And he was berating virtual church on Twitter. I'm going,
you're on Twitter.
You're on Twitter. This is a stupid conversation. Why are we having a conversation on Twitter, a virtual conversation, but you won't do virtual? I don't want virtual church. I don't want virtual family. I don't want a virtual marriage. I want a real marriage. But does digital help me be a dad? Absolutely helps me keep in contact with my kids and helps me stalk them as well and find my iPhone. There is so much I'm doing. So it's not the heart of what we do, but it's part of the world that we live in. So I'm saying to pastors, no matter what the size of your church, if you want to reach people today, if you want to communicate with people today, if you want to stay connected with people today, it's not going to look anything like you did before. Will we always have gatherings when we come together to a big box or a small box or a living room? Of course we will. But what this allows us to do, and this is it, we're going now from attendance to engagement.
Yeah. From
attendance to engagement. And our engagement is so important. And this is a game changer. This is the moment where and so I'm even looking at my own social media platforms, and I hate that stuff. I'll be honest with you. I don't enjoy Instagram. I don't enjoy Facebook, but it's where people are at, both our church and people who are not yet Christians. So I would be saying, we're going to get over this. And I pray for all the doctors and nurses and scientists that are looking after patients and looking for a vaccine and all of that. But the big changer for me and all of this will be the digital platforms.
That's fantastic. So optimistic that the church that is to be, the church that will emerge from this will be better. And I definitely agree with you. Moving from attendance to engagement is going to be I think it's just the potential in that, and what the digital platforms do for us is incredible. And especially here in a European context, where even just culturally speaking, people don't gather in the kind of numbers they might gather in the Americas, North, South, or even parts of Africa, Asia. Everyone is on a digital platform. I mean, I'm the same. I wouldn't say I love Instagram, I love these things, but it's necessary to engage with people, to get them engaged with Christ. So thank you for that. Thank you for the faith and optimism. Thank you for your time, your input, your wisdom. Thank you for being a great example of Christian leadership, especially in this time of crisis, not only with the church, but I know you personally as a friend, and you're a great husband, great father. And to have someone like you from Ireland, an Irishman, out there not in New York, but in California, leading the highest level is inspirational. So thank you for your time and input. And if people want to connect with you, how do they find you on Instagram? What's your handle?
Andrew McCourt 1 on Instagram, Andrew McCourt on Facebook. So I'm out there, and people can email me as well. It's andrew.mccourt@baysideonline.com. So just give me a shout out there as well. Just keep in touch. And to all the European leaders, guys, what a moment. Europe has been hit hard by this, but this is the moment to rise up. And this is the most important thing. I'll finish with this. We have good news. We have good news. Just find any platform to stand on, any platform, stand on that platform. And I love what, and I mentioned this in my sermon at the weekend, John Wesley, who, when he died, left the Methodist Church. So he was pretty successful. But I went to his little village where he was born, Epworth in England. I mean, this is a small, nondescript village. But this boy grew up from a small beginning to be the guy in the age where there was no trains, there was no cars, there was no planes. He said, the world is my parish. The world is my parish. And the only thing he had was a horse. He did 250,000 miles on it, traveled, sailed regularly to America. The world is my parish. And this is a moment where suddenly, by doing what we're doing right now, looking at a screen, www.World Wide Web, the world is truly our parish, and go and get it.
Great. Thank you, Andrew.
Okay. Thanks, Jamie.
Thanks for listening to this week's podcast. We hope you found this content inspiring and helpful. If you'd like to comment or submit a question, simply email us at info@lighthousechurch.ie. That's it for now, but remember, when life gives you lemons, don't get bitter, make lemonade.